On the Jacob Buer show today, I am so happy to have on John Cooper, lead singer and founder of, you already know, the band Skillet. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's great to chat with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so let's get started, of course. For you, you started, if I'm correct, when you were 5 with music at a very young age.
Hmm.
Obviously, a lot of people, when you get older, the dream kind of falls off. You have to get a real job. I saw you worked at McDonald's, if I'm correct, for 3 years.
Yep, that's
Wait,
right.
how did you make it
Yes.
to big step in life?
Yeah, sure. So you are right in that, most people that love music and play music are never able to turn that into a career and that sort of thing. And truthfully, I never imagined I would be able to. I never imagined in a million years this Skillet would still be playing music, after this long. So yeah, it was a shock. My mom was a piano teacher, so I grew up taking piano lessons and singing and things like that. And then a lot of people don't know this. I played the trombone. I played in the marching band and orchestra and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, in college, I began playing in a band very seriously, playing around town, and got a chance to record an album on a very small independent label in Memphis. And I just was like, I'm not doing good at college anyway. I am not cut out for college. I'm not an academic, not doing well. Let's just give it a shot. It'll be fun and we'll get the music out there and see what happens. I never imagined it would go this long and this well.
For sure. And what was kind of a deciding impact for you to continue doing this? Because obviously, everybody, look, the first 2 years that you might be fine to financially do it, that's great. But sometimes once somebody is like 30 or 40, if you only had one song, it's over for you. Congrats,
Sure.
you got to do a job for 5 or 6 years that most people don't get to do. You got to see the world. Congratulations. But not everybody past that point gets it going. You see a lot of bands, even big ones, that have stopped or gone on hiatus for a while or things like that. So for you, what's it been like to be able to continue this for just so long? I guess that
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people we're the luckiest band in the world. I mean, I love it. It's actually absolutely incredible, especially because Skillet didn't have any hit radio songs until 13 years into our career. So I think that it was our fifth album actually is when we finally had a radio hit. So we did it based on word of mouth. We played all the time. We just toured relentlessly, and I think that our live show must have been good enough that it got people talking, and then people bring their friends to the show. And it also had an element, and this is kind of interesting. I mean, we didn't plan it, believe me. I would have loved to have had a radio hit on our first record. I would promise you that. But it did kind of create a different kind of thing that I think some people can relate to. You know that feeling when you feel that you've discovered a band that no one else knows, and it's like they're my band and they're underground and they're keeping it real and they're not the sellout band and you feel that you kind of know them and they're your band. We had a lot of those fans and it kind of made it to where our career just kept snowballing. And so by the time we had our first radio hit, which was called Monster in 2009. By that time, we had already released, we had like a gold record. Our record before that was a very successful album because it finally just reached that tipping point to where all of a sudden Skillet wasn't just a social media band or that cult following band that like this group of kids likes. All of a sudden it had reached out, spilled out, and so all that hard work paid off. So I think if there's lessons in it, it is authenticity. Be yourself, sing the word, do a live show, give somebody something to talk about. Treat your fans well. Always treat your fans well.
For sure, no doubt about it. And I love the energy that you bring out when you're on stage, no matter you're having fire coming from you or whatever. I just love the energy. So let's talk about the big news. You guys just released Unpopular a few weeks ago. I believe November 1st, a new album is coming out, which of course, for fans, especially people who go to shows, people love to hear the new music too. So let's get into that real quick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Brand new music. So excited. People can go and check out the song. It's called Unpopular. You can go and stream it now, or you can buy it now, of course. The album comes out in November. So people, please go and pre save it wherever you stream music or pre order the physical, whatever you prefer. The album is called Revolution, but the single is called Unpopular. And the reason I called it Unpopular, I thought it would be a clever time to write this song. And here's basically what it is. The world has gone so insane and so crazy. And the things I see on the news are so bizarre and they get weirder every single day. And we are constantly being propagandized to that I just got to a place where I'm like, man, I don't even want to be popular. I mean, these people are bizarre. These people are strange. And if I'm going to be popular, I have to say all these things I don't believe and do all these things that I think are just ridiculous. And I just found myself going, I'm still who I've always been. I love my country. I love my God. I think that America is the greatest country in the world. I am a family man. I've been married for 27 years. I have two adult children. My 21-year-old daughter just got married, and people are like, it's so young to get married. I'm like, I got married when I was 21. I don't know. These are the things that I love, going to church, community, civil liberties. Leave me alone. I don't want the government telling me how to raise my kids. Leave my kids alone. And all the Hollywood perverts, you leave my kids alone too. I'm the normal person in here. And so I wrote this song saying, like, today's a good day to be unpopular because this stuff is weird, man. So I think that there's probably a lot of people, and I don't think it's even partisan because most of the people I tour with they're not religious, they're not conservative. A lot of that, they're just progressive or they're liberals or something. They agree with me on this stuff. They're like, yeah, I don't like all this stuff going on either. So I actually think that it's a majority of people in the country that are kind of sick of, doesn't mean they're partisan. I'm not saying they're on the right or the left. They're just normal Americans that may not even care about politics, but they're sick of what they see. This song is your anthem. So go check it out.
And if you don't mind me asking this question, obviously a big thing that goes on is if somebody has permission to play music. You've seen lately Foo Fighters obviously coming out against Donald Trump for using their song just last week. If you don't mind me asking you, would you be fine if anybody played your song if they have the rights to it, no matter they are a Democrat, Republican, or somebody running with Andrew Yang's Forward Party?
Yeah, that is such a great question. I really should have an answer for this. My position used to be anybody can play my music. I just love the country, so I don't care because I wouldn't view somebody playing my song as me saying I'm voting for Barack Obama. I wouldn't have. I would have been like, cool, use the song. We're all Americans, and music. I think one of the magic things about music is that it can mean something different to each person. You know what I mean? So I particularly used to feel that way. I feel like that the game is being changed in such a bizarre fashion that now I'm being forced to think about things I wouldn't have thought about in the future. But I still stand behind it. Look, if any presidential candidate was using my song, I would never get on the phone and call my lawyer and say, stop them from using my song. I would just be like, hey, I'm not voting for fill in the blank person, but I don't care if they use my song. We're all Americans, you know. I don't. That's kind of how I feel about it right now. But I reserve the right to change my mind later. But I just can't imagine me. Even though I will say the world is becoming very strange right now, that just really makes me sad. I really wish that we could all just be Americans and say, here are the things that we love and not demonize the other people. But I also don't want to be naive and not recognize that I do think that we are in a time where there are two different visions for the country. And so it might just be the case that we don't agree on even what I would call like bedrock civil liberties type issues. And if that's what it is. But back to your question, I kind of feel like if anybody wants to use my music, go for it.
Thank you for answering and not dodging the question. Um, So, and then just a few other questions I have, because I know you're a very busy man. You start a full tour next month and you're doing some events this week. So, a few other questions. I asked the Skillet fan club if they had any questions, because I know you love your fans. And one of the questions that they had, the big Skillet fan page, was what was it like when Jen joined your band from overseas to become your drummer?
Let's see. Well, Jen is awesome. She's fantastic and a great friend. She's been with us. Oh my gosh, I feel like it's been 16 years now. Even though I'm losing track of time, that's how you know you've been a band for a very, a very long time. It was awesome. Now, some people, depending on how far they go back with Skillet, might not know we did have a girl drummer before Jen as well that had been our drummer for I don't even remember, maybe 6 years. I can't really remember.
I think eight.
And hey, thank you for knowing my history more than me. I should know these things, brother.
I do my job as
Anyway,
a journalist because I know
you
people
did
get
your job.
irritated when there's people who ask the same damn questions.
Well, I am not irritated, but I'm like, yeah, I should really. I can count anyway. Anyhow, so the reason I'm saying that is because I always thought it was particularly cool that Skillet had two girls in the band, and it kind of created something that I had not really seen in rock music, maybe since Fleetwood Mac. And I thought that that was cool. Now you hadn't seen it in hard rock music. You had seen girls in bands like Smashing Pumpkins had a girl bass player, which I always thought was pretty cool. And I like that aspect. And so I thought two girls and two guys is cool. So when my drummer was leaving, there was the bummer of like, oh man, what's the chances of finding another sick girl drummer that's amazing? You know, probably not too high because there's not a ton of them. And I also thought it was cool because it was something that Skillet did that was unique. We were kind of doing diversity before diversity was like a big thing in rock music. And so when we got Jen, it was really cool because it kept that thing going. But not only that, it kind of took it to another level because Jen also is a singer. And little fact for you, I didn't know she was a singer. So when she joined the band, I did not know that she sang, and I was never thinking about her singing. And I had written some parts, and then we were working on it. And then Corey, who's my wife and guitar player, was like, "Why don't you try having Jen sing it?" And I was like, "Oh, Jen, do you sing?" And then she's like, "Yeah, I'll sing the crap out of that." Anyway, so then she sang it, and it was murder. And the first one we did was a song called "Hero." And the song really blew up, and all of a sudden it was like this kind of Skillet thing that was really unique and really cool. And then all of a sudden diversity in rock music became popular, and then they're like, oh, Skillet, they're the ones with the girls in the band. Then it became cool, and then I can brag, we were doing it before other people were doing it, besides Fleetwood Mac. But you get the point. And
Yes,
Evanescence, but you get it.
for sure. And three last quick kind of bullet questions I like to say before I ask you for your advice for young people, which is always a great way I like to close because this is geared toward younger people, although there are people of all ages who listen. Um, what's kind of been your favorite country to tour in besides the United States?
People are not going to believe this, but I loved, and I say loved in the past tense because unfortunately we can't tour there anymore. We used to tour Russia a lot. I think I've toured Russia maybe 11 times, maybe 12. I can't remember. You know my addition skills are not very good. And it was wonderful because also because of my generation. I grew up during the Cold War. And so I never imagined in a million years we'd ever go to Russia. It was just always like it's communist territory. And so when we were invited to come, I kind of didn't want to. I was like, I don't want to go to a formerly communist country. Who knows what it's going to be like? And it was wonderful. And the people were so sweet. There's not another word for them. They're just a sweet people. And our music meant so much to them because you're really dealing with a country that had abused its own citizens for so long. Communism is such an abusive ideology that there are people that had not had hope. And you have to remember this. I'm sorry, my answers are so long, but you got to remember what communism does to people. Communism is all about the collective. It basically does not value you as an individual person at all. You don't have individual liberties in a communist country. You don't matter. And if there's anything that can be said, is music. It's that we sing songs that make people feel like they matter. It makes people feel understood and that your life has a purpose and you are not a mistake. And so Skillet's music in Russia, it was magic. It was just magic. That's all I can say. And I'm really sad about what's happened since then. And I assume that means we'll never go back. But who knows? Maybe one day there can be some sort of healing and restoration to that area of the world.
For sure, because music is universal. And two other quick bullet questions. Do you have a favorite snack before a show?
Oh, man. Well, let's say before a show. Now, probably not before a show because anything that I would really want to eat, I wouldn't eat before the show because it might make me feel sick on stage. But favorite snack, I love chips and queso.
Wow.
Chips
And
and queso after a show. How's that?
that's a fair one. And then
Woo!
kind of my last quick bullet question before I close with advice that you have is obviously when you're in the crowd, people are drinking at concerts, or if they're not drinking, they're just jumping up and down. And everybody, loves the lights being all crazy. Is it ever tough to be on that stage in front of thousands of people with lights coming in and out at you? Or do you just kind of get used to that? Because I'm sure the first time in life it was crazy, but that's a question no one really thinks about to ask. Is it ever
Sure.
up sometimes with the light code?
For me, no, I love it. The more lights, the better. Give us more flashing, and everybody's having a good time. I sometimes am asked a different question, which is, do you mind when people film the shows? Like almost like people aren't in the moment, but they're all got their phones out. And I say, no, get your phones out. Put me up on YouTube. I want everybody to see the Skillet show. For me, I'm kind of a my rule of making good concerts is what would Gene Simmons do? Gene Simmons from Kiss. What would Gene Simmons do? And if Kiss would do it, I'd probably do it on stage too. So that's a good rule to live by if you're starting a band, a rock band.
Good point. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'd like to close with the question, which is, and this is not just geared toward music. Obviously, you've had a very successful life. You're very good in the industry that you're in. And no matter what industry path somebody chooses at Purdue, of course, there's a lot of engineering students. Um, Obviously, I'm a journalism person, but what would your advice be to somebody who has a passion? It's obviously going to be a competitive area. What are just kind of 2 points you'd give to them?
Mm. I think it's some really great advice, which people are going to be like, oh my gosh, duh. But it's true. Is basically the golden rule. You treat others the way you want to be treated. And that is not a trite statement. A lot of people don't actually know that the golden rule actually comes from the Bible. That's what Jesus Christ said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And the reason I'm saying that is not because I'm trying to proselytize. The reason I'm saying it is because in the West, we have assumed that that's like, oh, yeah, duh, everybody knows that. Outside of the West, it's not the case that everybody knows that. That is a Christian principle that has built the bedrock of America and the entire Western civilization. And it's also, we've come so used to saying it all the time that we don't really do it. And the reason I say that is because in the music business, probably not all that different than the journalism business, people get massive egos. People become egomaniacs and they treat people terribly and they treat people like it's an honor for you to talk to me because I'm a big star. I wrote a song that was a hit. And so now you don't deserve for me to talk to you or to treat you good. Or maybe you're not a big network I'm doing an interview with, but maybe I talk to big networks, not people like you. And you know what? I just believe that you will not get very far ahead. You may get ahead in life in the short run. You will not stay ahead because it will bite you in the butt on the way down. Okay. It will. It just doesn't work like that. You will not be blessed like that. And even if you manage to make it your whole life and you said, yeah, it worked for me, I got it. Is that really the person that you want to be? Is that really the way you want to be remembered? Do you want your kids to be raised remembering that their dad or their mom basically treated people differently depending on how much money those people had? Are you, that's really what you want, or based on the color of their skin or whatever your particular terrible terrible filter may be? Treat people like you want to be treated, treat them fairly. Everybody deserves respect no matter where they come from or what they believe. And I think if you do that, you be a person of integrity, you'll probably get somewhere in life.
Wow, stellar advice. Thank you so much for coming on the Jacob Viewer Show today, and we hope to see you out on the road in November 1st, a little over 60 days. Or if you're listening to this sometime in October, November 1st, 2024 or after is when the album will be out, and Unpopular is currently out right now as of August 28th. So thank you so much for coming on the Jacob Viewer Show today, John.
I loved it. Thanks for having me. Great job, and keep it up. And we'll do this again, brother.
Appreciate it.